The state of broadcasting in professional tennis is unlike anything that exists in professional sports today. It is a hyper-fragmented market. You need something like 6 or 7 different subscriptions as a fan to follow professional tennis throughout the year. You need an alarm clock, and it's basically a part-time job to figure out what time zone your favorite players are playing in from week to week, from match to match. Broadcasting and optimizing the broadcast of tennis matches is really the key to unlock tremendous value in professional tennis, just as it has been the key to unlock tremendous value in other sports. When David Stern took over as the commissioner of the NBA in the early 1980s, the NBA finals were on tape delay. They were not broadcast live, even in the United States. And yet, 99% plus, as Adam Silver, the new commissioner of the NBA, likes to point out, 99% plus of NBA fans globally will never go to an NBA game. And the reason they will never go to a game is because hundreds of millions of them live in China, hundreds of millions of them live in India, many, many more live in Europe and in Africa and in South America, and even in places in America where teams do not operate. And yet they all can be fans of the NBA and be served as fans of the NBA because of an optimized broadcast package that allows them easy access to consume NBA content. And in tennis, we don't have that yet. We have this fragmented landscape that makes it difficult, not easy, but difficult for fans to follow the sport, even if they are already tennis players, even if they are tennis fans, even if they are tennis fans when maybe a tournament comes to town, or maybe if they've been lucky enough to travel to go to a tournament, but then following it beyond that is difficult. And broadcast is really the unlock, because as broadcast revenues grow over time, every other major sport, more than half of their revenue now comes from broadcast, as opposed to ticketing, where so few as a percentage of fans can actually attend matches live and games live. But in tennis, we have the opposite. More than half of the revenue comes from ticketing and hospitality around the events as they travel the globe. And that is backwards, frankly. It should be the other way around, where broadcast is more than half of the revenue. And where that then impacts the players is in every other sport, players are getting roughly 50% of the revenue derived from not only broadcast, but the sport overall. But when broadcast is over 50% of that share of revenue, the impact on the players is immediate and it is tremendous. And here it is in tennis. We have an unlock that we need to simply turn the key to be able to deliver this value again to everybody in the ecosystem. I want to talk to you a little bit about profit sharing versus revenue sharing. It is a very nice sounding soundbite to say that we share 50% of profits with the players, but it is a sleight of hand. It is a magic trick, and it is designed to distract from the fact that profit is not revenue. 50% sounds right as a number because the players are entitled to 50%, but of what? When you talk about a percentage, the question has to be not only what is the number, but of what? And when we peg it to profits, as some people are trying to do in tennis, we have a system that is ripe for abuse, that is ripe because profits don't mean the same thing to everybody. And people who are not optimizing profits on a year in, year out basis, because instead of trying to make as much revenue and profit at the end of the year in any given year, we have people in sports, not only in tennis, but across every professional sport, who are trying to maximize equity value of assets. Well, what assets? Teams, tournaments, matches. That is what players are facing, because the owners of those assets, what they care about is the long-term value appreciation over time of those assets, not the year in, year out ups and downs of revenue that then get spent against to then end up with a number that is called profit, and then have a share there that goes to the players. And so every other sport, for very good reason, has a percent of revenue that is committed to the players. When we are facing people who are attempting to foist a percent of profit on the players, we should be very, very careful, because what is happening is a sleight of hand and a misdirection and a ploy to to distract from what the players are actually entitled to. Over the last year, the PTPA spent a lot of time gathering data on the state of broadcasting, revenue versus profit sharing, other sports, how things operate, and how to optimize the sport globally. Because again, we are committed, even though we are coming at this, and will always come at this from the player perspective, we are committed to building a sustainable yet growing sport of tennis globally. To the players, when it comes to broadcasting and optimizing revenue, you have the power literally in your hands with your phones and all of your personal devices and your cumulative followers on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and every other outlet where you engage directly with fans. You have way more followers than any other entity in the sport of tennis, and that's true of every sport as well. LeBron James has more followers than anything on the team side in the NBA or the league accounts as well. And yet, unlocking that value is within your control, and we are committed to helping you do that. And so as we go forward, let's work together to optimize your voice and your connection to fans so that we can begin to move meaningful change in the world of broadcasting, because broadcasting doesn't just mean international and national television deals. It will get there, but we got to start with is what we have the power literally in our hands to control.